The information that will be shared in this video, it's my understanding, my practice, but more important, my experience. So don't take anything that is going to be said here as the absolute truth. If you resonate with anything that is being said, you can put it into practice and let your experience determine the validity of what is being shared here. Having said that, enjoy this video. Hello, welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Just Look. What do I mean by that? Life, or the experience of life, it's a seeming happening that we cannot deny, of course. Seeing happens, hearing happens, sensing, feeling happens. And that's just part of the dynamic of this seeming experience. However, there's a way of living this experience in which when the mind is not engaged with its judgment, then we are just looking. And that's how we rest in the peace, in the happiness that we are. So when I'm saying just look, what I'm really saying is not judge. Because we are never reacting to what the senses are experiencing. We are always reacting to the interpretation that the mind is making of everything that seems to be happening through every experience. If there's a noise, that's just a noise, that's a sound. But if I go to the judgment, to the mind that says this sound shouldn't be there, I start feeling uncomfortable, I feel bad. But if it's a sound that I like, I feel wonderful, you see. But now I am at the mercy, not of the sound, I'm at the mercy of the interpretation that the mind is making to the sound. Same thing with what I see. Same thing with what I feel. See? So looking is simply a way of experiencing life without being affected by it, because I'm not letting the mind judge the experience as it happens. Now, what I'm saying here, of course, is that if there's a noise of, let's say, if you see an ambulance right behind you, that I'm just going to be sitting here thinking, oh, that noise means nothing and stay here. No, what I mean is that it doesn't bother me, the noise, but of course I see myself acting accordingly. So it would be to get out of the way because the ambulance have to go through, or things like that. So what I'm talking about is a way of living in the world in which all the seeming activity appears, but the mind is not making its interpretations or judgments in such a way that affect the essence in which I am resting, you see. So all the time we're asked to simply look. Now, if this is so simple, so obvious, why don't we do it? Because we have to remember that as long as there's the belief that I am this separate entity, that this is who I am, which is a thought, because only the thought tells me this is who I am. Without the thought, I could not say anything about myself, and for that matter, I could not say anything about the world. But because there's a conditioning, the thought that says this is who I am, on top of that, there is a cultural conditioning, and family includes family, religion, if you were born in a religious family. Also, it has to do with schooling and the media. So we've learned so much information, and we believe that the information has anything to do with who I am. So if I'm raised in a family that is very supportive, I may have good self-esteem or high self-esteem. If I'm born in a family that is very unsupportive, I may have low self-esteem. But you see, all of that is conditioning. All of that is learned. It's not really who I am. So I need all these thoughts and all these judgments to keep holding on to this false sense of self. However, what we're doing here is simply being In other words, to notice how life is. I rest in the peace that I am, and simultaneously I can look at the thoughts, but I don't give them any meaning. I use them only for practical reasons, practical purposes. So if I'm going to make a video, I have to know what is a camera. That's a judgment. I have to know how to turn it on. That's, these are activities that they serve, but that doesn't affect what I am. Now, if for example I try to make this video and the camera is not turning on, that is just a camera is not turning on. But if I let the mind's interpretation saying, oh, this is important, I need to do this, if I don't do that, this is what's going to happen, and blah blah blah, that's the interpretation that led me to feel bad, which again, it just keep reinforcing the belief that I am a separate entity, and for some reason whatever that I do here is important. So looking in this case would simply be, okay, this is the idea that comes through, the idea of making a video, that's fine. A camera is put in front of me, and I turn it on and I start making the video, and that's what it is. But if for some reason the camera is not working, then that's just what it is. You see, I'm just looking, I'm not judging in that sense. Now, if I begin to translate that to everything in the world, whatever I seem to see, I don't have to say that I have to agree with everything I see. I certainly would not agree with somebody acting very unkindly, but it would not affect me emotionally because I see the scene as it is and I'm just looking. Now, of course, you may say, does that mean that you would not do anything to help or anything like that? Again, we're missing the mark here. I'm not talking about what to do because that is a judgment still. I'm talking about just being. Now, in the pure essence of beingness, which I refer to as the peace that we are, the love that we are, I see how life may move this instrument to take a particular kind of action if necessary according to that particular scenario. In some cases, maybe life moves me to say something or do something, and in other circumstances may lead me not to say or not to do anything. You see? But I am in a space of observing, you see, looking, not judging. Because if I go with my own judgment, I'm already, I got caught up already in the mind's drama, and usually the consequences of that kind of behavior turn out to be counterproductive. Sometimes it could be like that. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, when I was living in California, I was driving to the airport and I saw a vehicle that lost control, hits the rail, and it just flipped a couple of times. Well, I'm not saying that I am anything special, but in that particular moment I was able to see that, of course, and I didn't feel any reaction with me whatsoever. That doesn't mean that I went, oh, no big deal, and I went to the airport. No, what I did, or what life through this instrument did, is that I pulled in front of it a little further up, I picked up the phone, and I began to call 911. You see, I was taking action. Like, I'm not a doctor, I don't know what am I going to do there anyway, but see, I was doing something about it. And I still have to go to the airport, I have a plane to catch, but anyhow, I went ahead and called 911. I called twice, and it was busy. Okay, then I looked through the rear view mirror and I found out that other vehicles were stopping, so obviously that situation is taken care of. So I took and I continue on to the airport and I completely let go of the story like it never happened, you see, and my peace was not disturbed at all. Why? Because I was just seeing, I wasn't judging. Now, maybe other people will see the same scenario and their heart pounds at 5,000 miles an hour, exaggeration, and may go all crazy and then tell everybody, you would not believe what I see, and they make a whole story about it. Well, I didn't. I didn't even tell anybody of what happened. This is just a scenario that seems to have happened. And once again, as you see, I did whatever I thought I could, but let's call the universe, for the sake of lack of a better word, said, no, Nick, you don't need to do anything about it. I'll take care of that. And again, people were stopping, and I'm pretty sure they could call 911 and do whatever is necessary. You see? But this attitude of looking allowed you to be in a space of peace. You see? And then whatever action that is taking, that is motivated or inspired by peace, I can guarantee you will be far much more effective and better than any action that is motivated by fear. You see? So the other thing is that when we're looking, it also allows us to look at even any self-judgments to ourselves. Because once again, all judgment parts from the belief that I'm a separate individual, and now the mind is judging everything according to whether it benefits me or it could hurt me. See? But when I'm resting in the ever-present experience of beingness, then yes, seeing happens, hearing happens, sensing happens, all of that happens, but does not affect what I am. And this is what these videos point all the time. See? This is not about what to do. That is irrelevant. It's simply be. You see? When I am being, then life seems to happen, but has no effect of who I am. Have no effect on who I am. And who I am or what I am is beyond words. We cannot talk about that because it's actually the ever-present, infinite, omniscient oneness, whatever you want to call it. And again, words will not serve us. So, resting in presence, which is what we are always, observing life happening, that means looking and not judging, is what allows us to experience the peace that passes all understanding. And this is what is going to be reminded over and over and over again in these videos, even though if we may touch different aspect of the seeming projection, because sometimes that is the best way to look at a particular seeming problem or situation, and noticing how the mind was distracted with that particular scenario or whatever the case may be, and we bring it back to the place that has never left, which is presence, pure beingness. You cannot deny your experience, or not your experience, but you cannot be denied, or it can't be denied, the direct experience of being right now. Let's put it to the test. Let's not, this is not esoteric, this is not theoretical, this is pure, it's a fact right now. Can you negate beingness? Can you say I am not? She cannot say any of that. Right now you are. Don't identify with any thoughts. And I said this and I will say it again. I didn't say don't think. I didn't say the thought will not be there. I said don't identify with any thought and what is left. And what is left is what is. And that's life. You see? And you are life. And because you are life, not the human being that you think you are, life takes care of life and is taking care of you. And what a better proof that you are not choosing to breathe and breathing is happening. You're not choosing to have your heartbeat and the heart is beating. You're not choosing to have all your organs to function and yet they are functioning. You're not choosing to have the bloodstream going all over the body and yet it's going all over the body. And in that same way, you're not choosing what the birds in the sky will do. You're not choosing what nature does. You have no control over anything. And yet, by believing the mind, we think we can control anything. We can control nothing. We're just being. And all we're doing here in these videos is noticing how beingness is what happens. And look how, because of conditioning and because of habit, we go to the mind, you see, and then we let the mind determines what is true, what is not, what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what not to do, thinking that we are making those choices, not realizing that those choices are being made by that which lives us, okay? And if you're new to these videos, I suggest you watch the video, do we have free will? I have the link on the description below. That's a good video to always watch. So whenever I say things like this, and the mind goes with all kinds of questions, go to that video and I'll explain, in detail why you could see that we don't have the free will that we think we have. And again, we don't need to get into an argument with this. If this serves you, wonderful. If this doesn't serve you, then this information is not for you. It's as simple as that. So having said that, just remember, just look. And that was the inspiration that came through this instrument. Hope it helped. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.